G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. We'll have all the show notes and any resources mentioned in the cast on our website. Spotting 2 great middleware engineers in 2006, he became the 3rd full-time employee and a shareholder without having to put funds in, just leveraged sweat equity. With 17 M&As, mergers and acquisitions under his belt, Stephen's early decision to strongly focus the business on specialising in one niche in middleware really paid off. By late 2011, after 5.5 years of solid growth, they had 88 FTE, 14 million in annual sales, 16% or 2.2 million profit, and listed on the ASX at a valuation of 27 million. Slicing off 20% of EBIT each year into profit share for the team and giving most of them shares, coupled with a big focus on culture and KPIs, helped push sales to 20 million per annum 7 months after listing when the founders' earn-out completed. Stephen believes the hardest thing in growing a small business is mixing cash investment against your own aspirations, and advice he'd give himself on day one is believe in yourself and stay the course. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Stephen Chetcuti from Protegic. So thanks for your time today, Stephen.
No worries at all.
Let's start with how we know each other. Ed Davis, who I interviewed last week, who I worked with at PricewaterhouseCoopers, he's a mutual friend of ours.
That's right. And I've been helping him out with some of his work at Turnkey and sitting on his board, sort of non-exec role.
Yeah, so around the helping out the Turnkey guys with the corporate governance.
Yeah, corporate governance, a little bit of sales strategy, a bit of cadence, a little bit of discipline that some, I find businesses around their size, when they try to transition and scale.
Yeah.
They're just getting into those routines and that behaviour.
Yes. Yeah.
They become accountable to themselves.
Yep. All right. So we've just had a bit of a chat offline. You've widely experienced business person. You've done a lot of mergers and acquisitions, M&As, and just growing companies, turning them around, etc. So let's pick one business out of that and to talk about today. So do you want to tell our audience what that business is or was, and a little bit about it?
Sure. Business is Vanguard Integration. It's an IT services business, but it was highly specialised in what's called middleware. For the lay people that listen to this podcast, it's equivalent to the plumbers and the electricians in a building a house.
Yep.
You don't really see what they do, but nothing works without them.
Right.
It's the connectivity between the systems. It's not wiring; it's systems connections. They call it middleware for that reason.
Yep.
Some history. Back in 2006, I'd come back to Australia, and my lawyer had these 2 young guys who'd moved out of the industry and moved to, I think it was domain squatting, but anyway, back then.
Yeah.
And they said, do you want, instead of closing the business down, do you want someone to run it? I had a look at it, had 2 employees. I think I was blessed. Those 2 guys are still really close friends.
So the 2 employees were the 2 founders, is that right?
No, they were just 2 young lads who actually weren't that young, but two fellas who were highly smart, billing away, and their owners were in San Francisco going along that whole domain industry.
Got it, squatting and right.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I looked at it, met 2 guys and said, okay, well, they're pretty clever. I looked at the industry, did a bit of a view. If anybody understands middleware space, back in 2006, Oracle, Web Methods, Tibco, there was a dozen players, and it was the latest, greatest. How do you provide connectivity? How do you connect systems to make it communicate better to each other and all that sort of stuff? We got involved and carved out a small investment and a sweat equity deal.
Yep, great.
I said I wasn't going to do this for an income. I wasn't interested, and looked at it, met the vendor. The vendor at the time was Web Methods.
Yep.
That both the guys were working on. It was, to say it was boutique would be an understatement.
Yeah.
The thing that struck me and looked at the industry was everybody was trying to be everything. It goes against the grain for me. as an individual. Like to
Jack of
be
all
committed.
trades, like that saying, Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, exactly right. And for me, it's not how I am, and I like to be pretty focused. So I spoke to the vendor and said, "We'll be." He used some colourful words and said, "I'm tired of all you services companies being sluts and prostitutes to everybody in the industry." I said, "Okay, I won't be."
Yeah.
And we'll be Web Methods purebred. And a couple of things happen. You know, like a lot of these change moments, you need some luck. And you need some fortune to go your way. And
Yes.
I spoke to the two guys, with John and Terry, and we invited two or three other guys who they knew in the industry were elite. And we had this famous dinner they still talk about, and they called it the Jedi dinner. I'm thinking these blokes are weird, right? I've got a technical background, I'm an engineer, used to be a programmer, but long time not technical. And I'm thinking these guys are strange, right? They're talking about Jedi warriors in middleware and IT consulting. Like this but the vibe was fantastic, right? So,
Yep.
Off we went. Really got close relationship with the vendor. And I think if you want to put it in a nutshell, we went from those two people, me being the third, put some structure around it. In 5.5 years, we went up to 14.6 mil rev.
Wow. Yep.
We had an EBIT of 2.2 mil.
Yep. Fantastic.
15%, 88 staff.
Wow.
In 5.5 years. And we went into an IPO.
Yep.
November 28, 2011. We listed as RXP.
On the Australian Stock Exchange,
Yeah, exactly right. And that company's still trading. It's suffering some pain at the moment with COVID-19, but
I bet, yeah.
Listed at 50 cents, got up to about 88 cents.
Yep. Great.
Shareholders from Vanguard, we maxed out our earnout. So we topped that out. We hit the ceiling, which was quite good. Maybe the ceiling should have been higher.
How long was the earnout out of interest?
Was it was 12 months, but there was I won't go into some of the anomalies that happened through the capital raising.
Yep.
But there was a few things that had to happen, and my business partner at the time and I had to take a few risks. They didn't raise enough capital fundamentally, and so we took more paper.
Yeah.
And the listing was delayed, but the information memorandum couldn't be changed because of some legal issues.
Yeah.
So we listed in November, but our earnout started in July. So we were done and dusted by the 30th of June.
Oh, wow.
It was awesome, right? 7 months. But we smashed our number, so it didn't matter.
Yep.
And the risk we took, because we took more paper, I think it was a 25-75 split.
Yep.
25 in cash, 75% in paper.
Paper, you mean shares as in paper?
Shares, sorry.
Yeah.
It meant that the increase in share price had this knock-on effect to the return for the shareholders.
Yeah, great.
So it was just it was an outstanding outcome. We did a few things, like we gave all shareholders a packet of shares.
Yep.
Some of those guys and ladies still today, so I can't believe you did it. You know, it wasn't a huge amount, but it was enough.
Yeah, right.
And they got value out of it beyond just getting paid. So it was a great thing, and most of the people in that Vanguard group are still pretty good friends today.
So that's fantastic. 2 to 3 in 2006, 5.5 years later, in November 2011, you listed and sold out, and then earn out. 7 months later, you were pretty much done. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I stayed on. My business partner, as soon as he can get out the door, he took off like a rocket.
Yeah.
We still joke about that one today.
What, off to Star Wars conventions in Vegas or something?
I think it was he's the quintessential bogan. He water skiing on the Murray, I think that was where he ended up. But anyway.
Right up near where I grew up. And for those in the UK, a bogan is a chav.
I stayed for till 2013.
Right. Yep.
And here's a lesson, I think, for a lot of people. I'm not a salesperson. I'm more operational, but I can sell like we can all sell.
Yep.
But I generally do it on relationship and credibility and so on. I got pushed into a corner I was the group general manager of everything I did before,
Mm-hmm.
and the CEO was pushed me into a sales role. There's risks. You do an IPO or an M&A play, you've got to trust the people you get into bed with, right?
Yep.
And there was that level of distrust. So, okay, I'm a risk, put him into sales, and eventually it just wore me out and I left.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. I've seen that before, and it's very frustrating and unfortunate, but it is what it is.
why would you, roll up? I know there's a commercial gain to it. There's arbitrage. There's
Yep.
all those things. But if you're going to roll up and you want to build something and really create shareholder value,
Yep.
then that you've got to leave autonomy in play. You've got to understand the beast you're getting into bed with and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was clearly not the case. It was the CEO of RXB, still the same one.
Yep.
You can look him up. He's on the ASX. We catch up for a beer most Decembers.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And have a bit of a laugh about it. He's
Yep.
far nicer now than what I was when I was working for him. But anyway.
Yeah. That's great. Two things I wanted to go back to for the audience. So, is I guess explain how the business made money, but also the impact, because you started 2 years before the GFC really bit.
Yeah.
So I guess if you could talk to those 2 points.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll start with the latter because I
Yep.
think so. How you make money? Sorry, it's a services game.
Yeah.
I think I can't quite remember. It was about 8 to 10 back office staff.
Yep.
So recruitment, accounts, sales, marketing, me,
Yep.
and everybody else is billable consultants.
Right.
And you have a matrix organisation. We have team leads,
Yep.
site leads.
So it was all service. You were selling time.
Also,
No products you were leveraging off. Just selling time.
yeah,
Yep.
we would help. During that process, Web Methods got bought by Software AG, quite
Yep.
a large German vendor, and they fixed the product.
Yep.
Which was quite good, which was quite opportune as well.
Yep.
Especially when you nail your brand to it. One of the things we would do with Software AG, so Web Methods had been acquired by Software AG, they came to us and said, be licensed resellers.
Right.
And our shtick,
Yep.
our shingle was, no, we won't. We will not take a clip on services, on software revenue.
Yep.
But we'll lead you, we'll do joint account development. So we built that relationship, and the level of trust between vendor and service provider was huge.
Right. Yep.
Like I haven't seen that in the industry since.
Yep.
And that could be about the people on both sides of the fence as well.
Yeah.
There's still become friends now.
Yep.
So we did no product sell at all. It was
Yep.
purely services.
Wow.
Okay.
Well,
So
I mean, just on that, having had my business background, I first started in technology as well, and most of that was selling time. And obviously, my time at PricewaterhouseCoopers, with Ed, who we know, was mostly selling time as well, working in environment professional services. And I know how hard that is, because the denominator there is you need people, and people are hard to manage at the best of times or work with. So yeah, getting to 88 is huge. Yeah.
We there's some things, right? So I've got a strong sporting background, and we just built it. We ran it like a team, and created that sort of culture. Do the last Thursday of every month, hire the upstairs of the pub. The pub's got bigger.
Yep.
And as we went along, and I'd gauge the success of those nights on, could I hear the person next to me speaking?
Yep.
And if I couldn't hear him speaking, we're having a great night, and the culture was right. And not that we built a bevy type, beer swilling blokey environment. We didn't.
Yep.
It was inclusive, all that sort of stuff. But it's about making how do you create a team? If you go into a mentality of a services business where I want a team, I want to build a team, but none of us half of us don't work with each other. We don't see each other. So you've got to work hard at all those softer sides.
Yeah.
And community, the gatherings. You've got to do a lot of that. And this is between 06 and 11, right? So Zoom didn't exist.
No.
Teams didn't exist. Skype was new.
Yep.
So we didn't, that completely different to what we have today.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
We were good at that. And I think it's easier with technical people. Yep. You've got something in common. It's harder with your standard project managers, your BAs, the professional services. They're not as weird.
Yep.
I'm not sure what the right word is.
Yeah.
The culture's different. Doing it through pre-GFC.
Yeah.
So there's a good side story to this. So we were so close to Software AG. Our model was working where they were selling more licenses. We were doing great revenue numbers and growing really quickly. They tried to acquire us.
Right.
So they put I had a number of late phone calls with Germany around buying us. The number they offered to pay for us was the same number we got out of the IPO.
Oh, well, what was the time difference between the two?
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly. I think it was about 2008.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah, it's when GFC hit, about like late
yeah.
07,
Yes.
08. So the number the actual buy number,
Yep.
right, was exactly the same. I think it's 500K difference.
Yep. Yep.
So we're talking 8 digits and
Yes.
about 500K difference.
Yep.
And we were 35 people, whatever it was,
Yep.
and smashing it. But they wanted to replicate our model in all their regions, wherever Software AG would copy the Vanguard model.
Yep.
GFC hits. The M&A door at Software AG shut real tight and said, "Go away, piss off, don't come back again."
Yes.
But anyway, it was interesting, right? So, did you have to get to 88 people to hit that number?
Mm.
Or, the market changed, it shifted.
Yep.
The metrics on how you measured businesses shifted. You couldn't get 6 times EBIT, 8 times EBIT.
Yep.
You got fours, or you got fours of kickers, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, we got the same number. We spent 3 more years together, or whatever it was.
Yes.
More hardship. We went through a struggle in 2010. We had 20, if my memory serves right, 25 people roll off site within 3 weeks.
How come?
Was it a resourcing procurement rationalisation at one of our largest customers.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we were on B panel instead of A panel, and you wear it, right?
That would have been almost a third of your team.
Yeah. Well, lucky the blend of that was half contract,
yep,
and half perm, so we managed our risk,
yep,
on that account.
Yep. Geez, that's a wake up call though for putting too many eggs in one basket, isn't it?
Oh, without doubt. So my business partner, Bruce, he was on site. He was one of our key classic, similar to the Big Four, even though we weren't nowhere near it.
Yep.
He would be a billable consultant, and he would grow a team underneath him.
Yep.
He was in the office, he was on the bench, and we were sitting there and just staring out the window and saying, we have to do something.
Yep.
And we never got rid of anybody.
I was going to ask that. How many people did you have to let go? But you were able to hold on to all of them. That's great.
We held on to all of them. A couple of things happened. We had 3 people leave in the first 4 years.
Right. Yep.
So
that's great.
Yield was fantastic.
Yeah.
We struggled we red ink for about 3 months.
Yep.
Had enough cash reserves, well capitalised and all that sort of stuff to deal with it. But we got a bit scared by about November of, I think it was 2010. So if you think about where we're at, right? So we listed in November.
A year later.
A year later. And the conversation started, this will test your memory on Melbourne, in February 2011 on the National Golf Course.
Right.
So down the peninsula. So one of the best golf courses for viewers who know nothing about Victoria. So we're in October 2010, and we've got staff in the back office. We've got utilisations of about 60%.
Yep.
And we're in trouble.
For context of the audience, professional services staff utilisation at 60% is not a good number. You need to get that higher. That is the percentage of their time. So a billable resource is meant to be billing, and obviously the higher that percentage of time they're billing, that's better. So yeah.
Correct. And so for metrics for us, back then we would always be targeting north of 75.
Yeah.
Because we're a higher margin business, we could be lower. So the business I run today, which is different to then, is we have to be above 83% to be getting where we want to be, which is 9% EBITs.
Yeah.
For Vanguard, we're above 75%. We're going to be double-digit EBITs.
Yeah.
And we were at 60, which is not great. We were able to open up an account with the support of the vendor again,
Yep.
and get away some key people. We did a partnership with another vendor around that needed non-web methods work, and the rest is history. We also signed an MSA with a rather large Australian bank to
Yep.
build their secured gateways. So a couple of things happened in a pretty busy couple of months, and then bang, you punch it out the park.
Back on track again. So that I was going to ask, how did the idea, who suggested it, or was it an external idea or approach for the IPO? How did that come about, the idea of that?
So I walked into, 17 transactions over 25 years, right? So I walked in 06 saying, well, can we sell this?
Yep.
So we set that agenda at the start.
So you thought about the end at the start, right at the beginning. You had the end in mind. Yep.
Without doubt. We set up processes, governance, even as a 3-people business, we were doing things a certain way.
Yep.
That we want to exit. Now, can we do it through a trade sale or can we do it through an IPO?
Yep.
The IPO wasn't the original idea. We had the software AG, we'll do a trade sale in 08, whatever it was. We had another ASX listed business try to acquire us in the start of 2010. And that was a trade sale.
Yep.
But after we got through that hump, or that trough, not hump, it was the opposite of a trough, got through that trough in 2010.
Yeah.
He said, that's it. We're going to find an exit. And I actually made the phone call to a broker friend of mine who I'd worked with when I was part of private equity.
Yep.
And said, we're away. Let's go. And he said, there's a couple of guys, Ross and Paul, who are trying to do an IPO, but they've got nothing. They've got no engine. And I said, and then we went and played golf at the National, and the way it went. So it was a decision by Bruce and myself, my partner, myself, business partner, myself, around we're done.
Yeah, right.
Let's get this into exit lane. We have got everything, our forecasts, our accounts, everything was set up for exit.
Yeah,
we couldn't polish it anymore.
I was going to ask that. Was there much you had to change or work on when after you made that decision? That's great. That's what 5 years of starting with the end in mind up front does.
Yeah, well, it was easy. I'm just trying to remember who was. I think it was Phillips Fox did the DD, did the due diligence.
Yep.
Came out 0 issues.
Wow, fantastic.
Set up a data room.
Yep.
Went through it all.
How long did that due diligence take, out of interest?
Just trying to remember. As you get old, your mind slips.
I'm the same. Don't worry.
It was about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
Jesus, wept because a good friend of mine, Mauser, who's the third podcast interview, they got acquired by a big. He owned a pharmacy in Launceston, and they went from 800 grand top line when he started in there. And 12 years later, the top line they got to 21 million. They got acquired by an ASX listed big pharmacy, and it was painful. It was like 12 months or something.
No.
Yeah.
The process, the IPO process, and the credit meetings, the account meetings, the management meetings, all those things that happened, that took time. And because it was probably too small from an IPO, it was a small IPO, the micro cap. I think total rev back then was just north of 20 mil, which is small, right?
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a push it out the door to do the IPO. That process took time, but that wasn't due diligence. And that was about getting the paperwork and getting the ASX to agree to it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, great.
And the fact that, you only test as what the market will pay, right?
That's right.
The fact that they couldn't raise all the capital they needed, we as a group, and that we had to take more paper than cash, was proof in the pudding that it was probably, a little bit too small. But got it away, share price goes up, and, we, at the end of the day, is how happy the shareholders are. And we were extremely happy.
That's great.
We were. I'm not a shareholder anymore.
No. Well done, Stephen. That's great. You've absolutely destroyed the structure of my questioning, which is great.
Which is not unusual for me. So sorry.
Ed did warn me. So we're probably going to go a bit off piste. That's fine. But, I'll keep us moving because we've got about 20 minutes left. And as I said earlier, I'd love to have you back later in the year, perhaps on another business. But very interested in this story, particularly because it's an exit and it's an ASX listing or an IPO, which is, is rare. So thank you. When was the moment you felt like you'd succeeded?
Okay, so there's two answers for that. You succeeded as a CEO or succeeded commercially?
I think, yeah, if you could answer both those, it'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a CEO, it would have been early 2011, and we were running red hot. We'd fixed our problem, and we were in upstairs of the Waterside pub in the city.
Oh yeah, a couple of mates of mine own that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, the one on Flinders Street.
Yeah, corner of Flinders and
whatever.
Russell.
King. Yeah, well, we had down at bottom.
King, right? Yeah, King Street. Yeah, it's great.
And we're upstairs. We had the whole upstairs booked out.
Yeah.
And they'd actually shut the main bar down, and we were all still in there. Everybody was still talking. We'd announced that we were going to IPO and we were going to be called RXP, and everybody was still there, being pretty happy. That was success from a commercial point of view.
Yeah.
It's okay, we're on our way. Success is when you reflect back, I think, and you think that no one's leaving, and people are creating work groups, conversation groups.
Yep.
They're taking on mentoring tasks because they want the next group of people to come through and be as good as them, or be part of the team.
Yep.
We're reaching out for others. That's success from, I think, that team. I think I've mixed up the CEO and the commercial bit.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But as a CEO, as a person who loves to see teams come together, that's success. Commercially, it was that night we knew we'd done, because we knew no one was leaving. And you move through that IPO, they still report to you, but there's other people and other influences.
Yep.
And you can still keep a grip of it while you're going through it. Even though I left in 2013, I think 14, 15 and 16, that group was still the most profitable part of RXP.
Right. Wow.
And the majority of it stayed together. So that's a win.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Well, that's answered the next question. What about in funding the growth of the business? So I assume you didn't have to take on any other investors apart from obviously when you listed. After
there's an interesting component there. So zero capital.
Yep.
At the start.
Any bank finance in there or government grants?
No, there was no government capital, no government grants. Yep. There wasn't even EMDG, which is the export market grant. We didn't use that. We had some tax benefit that we could use.
R&D rebate. Yep.
No, it wasn't R&D, but it was tax losses in the past.
Yeah, right. Yep.
We executed in 2010 a bit of a shareholder buyout.
Right. Yep.
So we had a few. The original guys that owned it still had a big portion of it.
Right. Yep.
So we said, okay, we're going to buy you out.
Yep.
So we
took guys overseas.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they were still in Seattle doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they were cool. They were fantastic. So you guys would bench it back.
Yeah.
So we took on some debt factoring then.
Mm-hmm. So debt factoring as in your invoices?
Correct.
Right. So for the audience that aren't familiar, a company will take your accounts receivable, your invoice book, and forward you the money, whatever the value of your AR is, and give you say 90% of that immediately, and then and charge a few points above, I guess, other ways of debt finance. So that it's a smart way to do it for a short term.
We use the business's money to buy out some of the shareholders.
Yeah, it's great, brilliant. Yeah.
So we took the lion's share of the business.
Yeah.
And those guys knew that we were ready to go. And a testament to them, they still ended up with I think it was around about 12% of the end, and they still made money out of that.
Right. So when you listed, they still had 12%.
Yeah. No. Before that, they had a significant amount.
Right.
and they were down to about 12 at list.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, great. Okay.
And so we used a bit of debt factoring, which we washed out within 12 months.
Yeah, I was going to ask how long did you factor for, but that's great. Only 12 months. That is a very cheap way to buy equity. That's very smart. Mm.
Well, it was justified, all of that, right? And we're able to give some, like I said a few times already, that we're able to give some of that equity to all the staff.
Yep. I think that's a really good attitude to look after the people that have helped you get there. Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Now, we did a few other little things like we would do a phantom equity scheme for the employees.
Yep.
Every year you stayed, you got an extra unit.
Yep.
If you're a senior, you got 2 units. If you're a junior, you got 1 unit. Every year we do this rationalisation, and then we'd carve off a percentage of the EBIT and say, that's yours.
So
On a pro rata basis.
That's an interesting concept. So, what was your experience with that? Because some people might say, "Oh, that sounds like a lot of work, a lot of admin." But what was your overall experience? Do you think it benefited the business and you financially?
Helped keep good people.
Yeah.
I thought it was a massive lever in our success.
Yeah.
So right. The reality is your profit's not going to exponentially increase. It grows each year, right? So if you're doing our final numbers 2.2, then we're giving 440K away to our staff. Now, for the staff that were with us from the start, who got, when there was only 2 of them, they got 50% each of this profit share.
Yep.
They were given nowhere near. Actually, their number actually came down.
Yes.
As we got bigger.
Yep.
They didn't care.
Yeah.
Because it built this togetherness around, we're sharing it. It's not all going to the shareholders. It's not all going to the CEO's back pocket.
Yep.
I drive a Ute, so it wasn't a Ferrari.
Right.
So you had this, and every September, we'd have one of our dinners. It was the only time I ever said anything in a public forum. They used to nickname me Marcel Marceau because I never actually said anything. I'd get up on one of these dinners, stand on a chair, and said, "All right, this was our EBIT."
Yep.
Shared it with the staff.
Yep.
20% goes to the staff.
Yep.
You all know your equity splits. I'm not going to. You don't give that to people.
Yep.
And then I gave it to our ops guy, and off we went. He said, "Where do you want it?" And we give it to them. We put it in their super fund, or give it to them as a once-off payment.
Yeah, well done. This is an interesting question I've been asking recently. If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry? And if not, why? And what else would you do?
Yeah. Okay. So no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
If it was, so I think the services game in IT is becoming more and more commoditized.
Yeah.
So even if you had capitalize and say, we're going to go smash the Salesforce area, or we're going to smash the SAP world, whatever.
Yep.
It's too hard. And I think I was lucky through the Vanguard era about being at the right place, right time, having the management style that suited those sort of people.
Yes.
I don't think it's transferable. It's difficult to move it. I'm a massive interest in aquaculture. So if I had endless pools of capital, I'd probably get into aquaculture because I love equipment, technology, and that life sciences. I'd probably go there. Yep. At 55, I don't know if I've got the energy anymore. But I wouldn't do it again in services. I think it's meant services is a game and industry where it leans towards not requiring a lot of capital. Yep. But it leans towards getting a really good group of people that care, know, trust each other. Yep. And if you can get that mix right, then you're on a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the most stressful point in Vanguard growth journey? Can you pick one moment that was the most stressful?
That back end of 2010.
Yeah, losing 25 billable units.
Right. That was as hard as it got.
Yeah.
I don't find transactions and negotiation of term sheets or forward purchase agreements stressful.
No.
Because I've been lucky enough in all of those situations to be the person who can wait.
Yeah.
So I had a mentor back in, mid-90s, early 90s.
Yeah.
A guy called Dov Brenner, who ran the Japanese Australian Venture Capital Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Dob would just say, he who can wait is always in control.
That's right. A very powerful negotiating point. Yeah, if you're not in a rush, absolutely.
Yes, I was never I didn't find that stressful at all. And
Yep.
lawyers, brokers berating you, lawyers trying to shove something down, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever noise.
Yeah.
But when you've got to, are we going to sack 10 people today?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, who you've had dinner with,
Yes.
who have earned money for you or for the business for the
Yep.
last 12 months.
Mm.
I find that hard. Right?
Yeah.
I can't. So I used to work for a company called SMS, which was a large services company back in the late 90s.
Yep.
And the founder and CEO of that was Lloyd Roberts, who became the chairman of RXP.
Right.
So Lloyd and I used to go and have a beer once a week and have
Yep.
a chat. He's a bit of a doyen in the industry. And Lloyd would say, every year we'd turn over 30% of our staff. And I said, well, how do you sleep at night?
Yeah.
I said, oh, it's just part of the business, Stephen. You're being immature. You've got to turn over your staff.
Yeah.
So if we ever get that big where we've got to turn over our staff 30% of our staff every year, I don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that moment for me was sleepless nights. It
Yes.
was really difficult.
Yep. Absolutely. And what area in business do you think you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I can come to the answer pretty quickly sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Some would suggest that perhaps I can be quite direct.
Yep.
We've got to learn to shut up sometimes and listen.
Yes.
And that comes with age. And
yes, totally agree. That I was about to say that was very much me 20 years ago as I was starting out in business. Yeah.
there's a few things that I've said in the past I'm not quite impressed with.
I had a cringe moment just the other day. I remembered something I said to someone years ago and I've just gone, oh, wish I could take that back. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few of those, mate. You're not Robinson Crusoe. So being able to, you can't control everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm obsessive,
Yep.
OCD, focus driven, all those things, right? Learning to just take your hand off the steering wheel.
Yes.
And trusting people around you to run it. I'm far better at it now than what I was back then.
Yep.
Some would suggest that I haven't changed.
Yeah.
I hope there's not the majority.
Yep.
But to succeed in a services business, you've got to allow people around you to drive it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And let them come up with the ideas. Be the dumbest bloke in the room.
Yep.
Learn to.
It's interesting. A lot of people I've interviewed, but also talk with and network with. Just to me, it's striking how important having your ego in check is for those that are successful, the ones that I deem or I call successful anyway.
Yeah, without being egotistical, I'm not sure it's an ego thing with me. It's just a wanting to get to the answer.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, it's just this relentless drive of I've just got to get an answer.
Yep.
What's the thing that my wife says to me? Goes, I'm going to explain a whole bunch of problems to you and how upset I am, but I don't need you to fix it.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay if you just listen.
Yeah.
Because that's what I want you to do right now. Is just listen. You can't go off and try and fix it. It's not fixable.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. I think it was easier at Vanguard.
Yeah.
Because of the type of people we were. But yeah, I think that's been the key thing through it. And having good relationships with people that you could have a commercial conversation with. Absolutely trust they're not going to cut your lunch.
Yes. Yep. Okay. And what have you enjoyed least about managing the fast growth? Not much.
Not much.
Yeah, that's great.
It's on the edge, right? Like it's working out how you pay wages on the 15th of the month when you're flying, and a client says to you, "I'm going to pay you in 90 days."
Yeah,
that's no fun.
No,
but it's okay. So you reach into your pocket and you deal with it.
Yep. And what about the biggest mindset shift you've had in your small business growth journey to date? Doesn't have to necessarily be in Vanguard, but just generally, what have you thought about differently? Had to now?
Seeing success in others is far more pleasing than achieving success yourself.
Right. That's a good one.
It comes with it anyway, right? You get it anyway because you're part of the group, you're leading the ship, you're part of the team,
Yep.
you're being led by someone else. But seeing others succeed,
Yep.
seeing, Ed and Rob succeed and where they're at today, and
Yeah.
see them as a shining star in the turnkey group.
Yep.
That's fantastic. That's a win. And again, that comes with age and
Definitely. Yep.
how much do you care about the dollar anymore and all that sort of stuff. I get that. That's a statement of comfort, right?
Yeah. Or as they talk about in a lot of HR surveys, pay comes in about fifth. The reason why people work at a place, and they call that pay factor the hygiene factor. People have to get paid to be able to live. But money is often not the thing that drives not just entrepreneurs and business owners, but people that in a workplace. Yeah.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. No, I stuck that in a PowerPoint to a coaching course I gave.
Yep.
To a bunch of soccer coaches or football coaches about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, about how do you really affect the players that you're coaching. If you just worry about what they're getting paid, it's about being at top of that triangle and really driving learning and togetherness and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. What is the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Know your numbers.
Yep. That's a good one.
Know your numbers, know your metrics. What are your levers in your business? Whatever they are, right?
Yes.
So know them. And if you don't know them at the start, or spend your first 6 months really understanding speak to others in the industry, what drives them. So
that's good advice.
Our game is gross margin,
Yep.
margin on every single sale,
utilization.
Yep. I don't care about my rev number.
Yeah.
It'll take care of itself. I know what my OPEX to my rev is.
Yeah.
You know your numbers.
Yeah.
And even if you're not, and they don't have to be financial.
Yep.
Utilization is not financial, but know your numbers. Know that you need X amount of customers that are multiple heads, multiple site on the site.
Yep.
You can't have too many of single site customers, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
If you know those, then you'll sleep well at night.
Yeah. Okay, great. Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growasmallbusiness.com. Let's talk a bit about how you've added people to the team, because obviously going from 0 to hero 2 to then 3 people, including yourself, up to 88 upon listing. Can you talk a bit about how you added people, some of the wins, mistakes, and advice for those people listening? And we've only got, we don't have an hour, by the way.
So wins, networks.
Yep.
Networks with networks. So I reckon in, 14 years of services, 15 years of doing services, I've hired 2 or 3 good people from a recruiter.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So you try to outsource it, I find no gain.
Yeah.
Right? It's been too hard. Networks, having good people bring their good people in. Mm-hmm. So you treat your people well, they'll encourage other people to come in inside the business. That's how we've grown. Grown well. Some of the bad hires is, people who don't understand the numbers don't understand the levers. Drive a collegiate atmosphere. Recommending people who can bring volume and revenue to your business.
Yeah.
And on a couple of occasions, I've hired people that are promises of revenue without really assessing their effect on the culture of the business, the collegiate feel, and I've failed a couple of times on that.
Yeah. Well, that's my next question. Things you'd recommend building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
Things I would recommend. That's a really good. You're going to do. I've got one. I've got a recommendation which I have not followed.
Yeah.
Or I've only started to follow in the last 12 months. Don't hang on for too long. You
Hmm.
make a bad decision,
Yeah.
your stomach will tell you it's a bad decision. You've
High,
made a
slow,
bad
fly
hire.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
give people a chance, and a chance is 12 months. It's not 12 minutes.
No. Yeah.
But if it's still a crap decision
Yeah.
and it's still not working in 12 months, then bite the bullet and
Yeah.
knock it on its head.
I certainly did that early on because it's not a fun thing having to get rid of people, and it is entirely your fault because you hired them in the first place. So, but yeah, it's very understandable for people, particularly doing it the first few times, delaying, going, oh, I'll just give them more time, more support. But yeah, ripping that band-aid off is so important.
Well,
Yeah.
the challenge for a small business is that the band-aid, as you call it, they've got opportunity in their right hand, and they're saying, "This is the opportunity I'm trying to close.
Yeah.
Here's the revenue I'm going to bring to the business." And so you're lying in bed at nights worrying about, well, if I get that revenue, it's going to make the pain of the toxic culture this
Exactly.
person's bringing into the business worthwhile.
Yeah.
Sorry, that
No.
toxic culture is never worth that money.
Yeah, I think I mentioned on an earlier cast. I read a HR or Harvard Business Review article some years ago. So it said that something like it's 10 times the cost is 10 times that bad hire's annual wage to the business, and that's through missed revenue, extra cost, A players cracking the shits and leaving the team because you won't do anything to get rid of this arsehole. And yeah, there's a huge hidden cost there, but they've estimated 10 times a person's wage.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't in Vanguard. Again, I was lucky in Vanguard.
Yep.
But in the current business I'm running, I made two poor decisions.
Yep.
That looked fantastic at the start, and the revenue went up. EBIT were flying. Toxic culture,
Yep.
poor attitudes, and it took two customers to downturn,
Yeah.
which impinged their sprinkle dust, their magic dust, right?
Yep.
And it caught it out a little bit. And I
Yep.
made the decision, and we've never looked back since
Yeah,
then.
great. Yeah, like I think Ed said last week in his cast, I don't know if you got this from you, but they've got the no dickhead rule,
Yeah,
no dickhead policy.
the
Yeah,
old Sydney Swans, Paul Roos
yes,
statement. That's where it
that's
started,
it.
I think.
Yeah,
The All Blacks have taken it on as being their mantra.
have they?
If you read Legacy, which is
Yep.
the All Blacks book, they actually say the no dickheads policy, which they
Yeah.
pinched from Paul Roos and the Sydney Swans.
That's great. That's awesome. So, any professional development? Did you invest much in your own professional development, like
I
reading?
did an MBA
Yep.
in my late 20s,
Yep.
30s, before they took them out of cornflakes packets.
Yep.
I'd like to say.
Yep.
I've not done a lot. I've done a lot of coaching courses.
Yes.
So again, big into football, soccer,
Yep.
and I've gone on a lot of coaching courses, which is an interesting thing.
Yep.
Engineer, MBA, and you're dealing with people that are tradies and
Yep.
whatever, all different walks of life.
Yeah.
And being able to work as a team and unit, that's been an influencer, but nothing formal.
No.
Bit of hands-on work, unfortunately.
Yep.
We'll learn on the job stuff.
What about mentors or coaches in a business sense? Have you had any yourself? I know you do coaching, but
yeah, there's a guy called Steve Morrell who's ex-McKinsey's, who became the chairman of a company in Norway that we created through mergers. He's been a guiding light.
Yep.
There's another guy, Knut Mullag, who was my boss when I was living over in Norway.
Yep.
We still keep in touch. There's a few people, and there's some old coaches of mine that I still talk to around the people side. I think you've got to work hard on your people skills.
Yes.
And if you can be abrasive, which I can be.
Yep.
They've helped me soften the edges. Some would argue that not enough, but anyway. But
I'm exactly the same. If I'm low on coffee and or sleep or hungover, if I get grumpy, then the keeping it together and being a little bit more normal less direct, I should say, than and abrupt. I'm totally on the same page with you on that. Yeah.
It's like, again, 55 years old, father of 5.
Yeah, you mellow it.
Well, you do a little bit, but I've still got it, right? Like I can just see, and the team I work with now have known me for years.
Yep.
They just look at me and raise one eyebrow, and I was going, okay, whoop, pull the horses back. Ed looks at Ed's manner with me is amusing, right? Like I can be direct, and Ed just sort of takes it on the chin because he's so relaxed and calm.
Yeah.
and I'm agitating him. He
Yep.
just sort of looks at me.
He's unflappable, Ed. Absolutely. We better close out then, mate, with the final 5 questions.
Yep.
What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Mixing cash investment against your own aspirations, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that you're working 18 hours a day and you probably got paid more when you're in a full-time job.
Yep.
Balancing that mentally,
Yes.
so you feel like you're not being cheated, and then staying the course.
Yep. For the real return at the end. Yeah.
Correct. You've got to stay the course.
Yep. Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
I could say Porter. I have read all 3.
Porter's
That was
5
long.
Forces.
Pardon?
Porter's five Forces.
Yeah, Michael Porter. I've read all 3.
Yep.
I pulled it out because I knew it was one of these questions. I pulled out this thing here from Simon Sinek.
Sinek, start with why. It's a great book.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So, not a massive reader, dyslexic.
Yep.
So I struggle a bit,
Yep.
but I plod through with my finger underneath every word as I'm reading.
As my 7-year-old daughter reads, like that at the moment. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
Not really.
No.
I'm very much a one-on-one person.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. And one tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business? Any kind of tool, anything?
Excel.
Okay. I hate Excel, but I love spreadsheets, I must say. When I left Lark 6 years ago, I vowed to move away from Office. I hate Steve Ballmer. He's a bit of I don't know if you've seen that Monkey Boy video of Steve Ballmer.
No.
Google it. It's quite funny. But anyway, just bloatware by the time I left my last gig 6 years ago, and thought I'll just give Google Sheets a go, and I'm going to have to build some complex financial models. I wonder if I can break it, and haven't been able to break it since. So I'm in the cloud these days with Google Sheets. But yeah, spreadsheets, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah, if you're building a small business, keep it lean.
Yes.
Don't buy the system. Don't buy the whatever, right?
Yeah.
Put it in a spreadsheet. Get your process right.
Yeah.
Get your processes, your methods right. And then when it gets too hard to manage, then put it in a system.
Yeah.
Then put it in some software.
Yep.
Keep it cheap. Keep it lean.
Yep.
Put your money where you should be putting it, in your assets.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last and my favorite question, what would you tell yourself on day one of starting a small business?
Believe in yourself.
Yep.
And stay the course.
Great. It's great advice.
Because it's tough, right? It's hard.
It is.
Yep. You get slapped in the chops every day. When you look at that blank sheet of paper, you say, "What the fuck? What am I doing next?" Right?
Yep.
And it's okay to admit that you do mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
what's really not okay is to stop.
Yeah.
And to give up.
Yep. Yeah.
You just got to keep you go. Know when you've probably got to shut it down.
Pull up stumps for real. Yeah.
Yeah, because the risks are too big financially.
Yep.
Okay.
That's something I talk about a lot in my mentoring and coaching. A young guy that I'm mentoring at the moment, he and his brother just bought a restaurant. And I said to them both, are you fucking mad? It's hard enough to make money in F&B on the best of days. And then literally, unfortunately, about a month later, the virus really started to, hit here. But I said to them, especially to the young guy, because I just met his brother, I said, that's fine. You've already done it. I wouldn't advise it, but have your financial walk away. What is the number that you guys have to get as low to that that's it, I'm out? Otherwise, because you're going to be too emotionally blinded and want to say, just another month. And that's how particularly restaurants and food and beverage businesses get in a lot of debt and a lot of trouble.
I absolutely agree. So I'd add to all that, maybe you can edit it in.
Yep.
Put 1 or 2 good people around you that are not afraid to say to you, you're wrong.
Yep, absolutely. I totally agree. An advisory board, an informal advisory board can just be a couple of mates that are experienced business people, or they put you onto someone that you don't know that is happy to tell you how it is. Totally agree.
Yeah. Someone, just go and have a beer with them. So
people like you and I, because we sound very similar, very direct, and people know I don't pull any punches. I will say, as I've said at a wedding a few years ago, my mate got married. He sat me next to this guy I hadn't met before. He's 10 years younger than me in business, and we had a good chat. And I turned around and frankly said to him, I think your brand's shit. I think that's the weak part of your business. And he respected that. I'd read him well enough before I actually said that, but you need people like that can just call it as it is.
Yeah, I think so. Look, that would help any young person starting, or not so much young. It could be older.
Yep. Yeah.
You got to have that conscious.
Yes.
Because it's you just get so inside your own head.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the ease of navel gazing, not me. No. So anyway, there's a million things. I don't think there's one thing that's tough. Right? If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
That's right, exactly. That's right. Well, Stephen, thank you very much for your time today. I think the audience will get a ton of value from what you shared with us. I'm definitely going to have you back later this year. It sounds like there's some other great stories, other great businesses there that people can learn from. So thank you very much.
Thanks, mate. Really enjoyed it.
And for our audience, we'd greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.